This is the second in a series discussing the American Constitution and our wonderful godly form of government. This particular discussion deals with the Congress. The Congress is made up of people. People make mistakes. Sometimes people have evil intentions or destructive intentions. I'll just mention some of the things that the Congress has done since the foundation of the country to gradually eat away at the freedoms of Americans and to destroy our freedoms and the economy in one degree or another. The Congress reminds me very much of the Senate in Roman times. Over time, it became more and more corrupt, and eventually they were willing to give over the power of the government to a dictator who could make all the decisions and take all the heat for making mistakes. That allowed the congressmen, the senators, and of course in the Roman Empire, that allowed the senators to enjoy the benefits of wealth and prestige, free access to women, whatever it is that suited them, so they could debate and pretend to be patriots, but really do nothing. It was the dictator who did everything, the Caesar. The representatives in America were elected by the citizens, are still elected by the citizens, which is a good thing. But the senators were appointed by the state legislatures in each one of the states. In the previous discussion, I explained why that was important. Something happened. Now, there are many things that have happened, but these are some of the critical ones. The 17th Amendment came in the year 1913. Senators had been appointed by the state legislatures to guarantee the security of the states, to protect the rights of the states, which created the federal government. From that point on, senators were elected by the population. That took control of the senators away from the people and took away the senators' willingness to support the states because they were elected by the voters and not appointed by state representatives. So they were no longer available to resist federal spending. They became just super representatives, and the counterbalance of the finances was gone. Soon after, the budget started to explode. That same year, the Federal Reserve was created. That's the equivalent of the Bank of England, a criminal organization, a monopoly created by the Congress in 1913, about 8 months before America entered into the First World War. It was created partly as a way to produce phony money. In order to finance the war the government wanted to get involved in. They were thinking ahead. It's a complete banking monopoly and a criminal organization. The federal government created the Federal Reserve to create this phony money so they'd have unlimited spending ability, and they protect the Federal Reserve against their criminal acts. Since 1913, the dollar now has dropped in value to the point where it's less than 2 cents. The Federal Reserve has stolen 98 cents out of every dollar from the value of our money. By creating the Federal Reserve, also by creating the income tax, that's allowed the federal government to be an intrusive organization. They created the IRS, and now they watch everything we do with the idea that they don't want us to shortchange them on taxes. We started from the point where the federal government had no right to raise taxes except for import-export excise taxes, which were not credited against individuals. But now they have the right, or they believe they have the right to intrude in all our private affairs. The funds created by the Federal Reserve have allowed America to become an empire, the way Great Britain became an empire years ago. Virtually unlimited money to buy troops, Navy, Air Force, Army, all those different organizations that can invade countries all over the world, just like the Roman Empire did in their time. So we stopped being a country and became an empire, largely For the same reason, Great Britain became an empire, complete control over phony money by in their case, by the Bank of England. Now, voters are very important prior to and during elections. Sadly, elites pick the candidates, so there really is no real choice in most cases. The last time we had a candidate who really loved this country and never once betrayed it in a 35-year career was Ron Paul. He was virtually shut out of all the television debates and things like that. Even if he was allowed there, he was hardly allowed to talk. The reason is he wasn't the chosen person. The chosen people were fixed so that the potential Democrat and the potential Republican candidate who they felt could win were both people who had really the same philosophy. In 1912, the Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act. That allowed the military the ability to arrest and hold American citizens in indefinite incarceration without even a warrant, charges, or a trial. That's no different than Soviet Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, and Russia now, of course. There's a quote I'd like to read you. When government power is turned from protecting against these 5 things, assault, robbery, slavery, murder, and war, to all owing or even causing these things, freedom and prosperity are lessened. In other words, when the government goes outside of its proper limits, outside of its proper uses, freedom suffers. We no longer have limited government and free enterprise, but massive bureaucracy that regulates all aspects of American life. There are other countries, many other countries in the world now, where it's easier to set up and operate a business than in America. The expenses of laws and restrictions and licenses and everything else is gradually strangling free enterprise in our country. That is largely a number of the important things that Congress has done to help destroy this nation and its freedoms. I should just mention in passing, at least, the American Patriot Act, which is nothing more than the ability, it gives nothing more than the ability of the federal government to intrude in every aspect of our lives and treat every American citizen as if he were a terrorist. That is a complete violation of everything this country was ever designed to stand for.